All right, so today we're diving into a mindset that is, well, it's pretty radical. It's all about acting as if failure is completely impossible. And look, this isn't just about wishful thinking. It's about the incredible power that comes from making a truly unbreakable decision.
So let's just start right here with this question, and I want you to really take a second and think about it. If you knew for a fact that you could not fail, how would your thoughts change right this very second? What fears, what excuses would just disappear? This one question, honestly, it's the key that unlocks everything we're about to talk about.
And this quote just nails it. The idea is that the universe, or life, or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't respond to vague hopes and wishes. It doesn't care about maybes. It responds to commitment, to the raw force of a mind that has made a final choice. That shift from wishing to committing, it changes everything.
Okay, let's get into our first section here, and we're going to explore this really wild idea. What if failure isn't something that happens to you, but is actually a choice that you can eliminate entirely? Most of us think, okay, I'll commit once I have more money, or once I have the right connections, or once the time is right. But this philosophy says that's completely backwards. The real first move is internal. It's about mentally burning the boats. You have to get rid of your escape hatches, your backup plans, the whole, well, if it doesn't work out, at least I can say I tried story. You have to remove retreat as an option in your own head. And you can see the difference so clearly here. When you act like something might work, your effort is careful, maybe even a little timid. You're looking around for a door that's already open. But when you act as if it must work, that's when you get inventive. That's when if there's no door, you just build a new one. You stop waiting for certainty to give you permission to act. You just move. So this idea of total commitment, it leads us right into our next big concept, which is called the law of decision. And this frames a decision not just as a choice you make, but as a real tangible force in the world. Now here's the really crucial part. The law says that once a decision becomes truly irrevocable, like there's no turning back, that's when things start to move. It's like your decision sends out a signal, and your own mind starts seeing solutions and opportunities that were completely invisible before. It's almost as if the universe was just sitting there, waiting for you to get serious. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? When you're indecisive, when you're wavering, it's like you're creating static. Nothing can get through. But the second you make that firm, unshakable decision, you become a clear channel. And power needs a clear channel to flow through. And you see this in history. The classic example is the conqueror Cortez. When he landed on foreign shores, what did he do? He ordered his men to burn their own ships. Now that sounds crazy, right? But it wasn't madness. It was an act of supreme clarity. By destroying any chance of retreat, he focused the will of every single soldier on one thing and one thing only: victory. There was no plan B. Advance or perish. All right, how about a more modern story? This guy, Edwin C. Barnes, he decided he was going to become Thomas Edison's partner. Notice that, not an employee, a partner. He shows up broke, having ridden a freight train. He takes a low-level job at the company and just waits for years. But that goal never wavered. So when an opportunity finally came up to sell a new invention nobody else believed in, he jumped on it with a passion that could only come from years of unwavering focus. That partnership, it wasn't luck. It was the unavoidable result of a decision he'd made long ago. Okay, so making a decision, that's the spark. But what keeps that fire burning, when things inevitably get hard? Well, that brings us to our third section, the power of faith. And this is such a critical distinction to understand. Hope is passive. Hope sits back and waits for good news. It wishes things would work out. But faith, in this context, is an active force. It doesn't wait around for evidence. It acts in a way that creates the evidence. It doesn't ask for permission. It acts as if it already has authority. Hope wishes, faith declares that it's already a done deal. Just take this story about Dr. Frank Gonzalez. For years, he'd been hoping to build a college. Then one day, something shifted. He stood up in front of everyone and made this declaration. Just listen to the tone. It's not a question. It's not a hope. It is a statement of fact. So what happened? You guessed it. Within just 36 hours, a man who was there that day came forward and gave him the entire $1 million. And that's how the Illinois Institute of Technology got started, from that single moment of absolute certainty. And here's the thing we have to get. The real miracle wasn't the donor showing up with the money. The real miracle happened inside Dr. Gonzalez's mind before that. It was his internal shift from passive hope to an active command of faith that set everything else in motion.
Okay, so this all sounds incredible, right? But the big question is, how do we actually use this in our own lives? Well, that brings us to our final section, your turn to choose. This is where we get practical.
And look, let's be totally honest. This is not like flipping a switch. Your mind has been conditioned for years with old habits of doubt, hesitation, and fear. It's a mental muscle. It has to be retrained, disciplined, and literally taught to think in this new way. It's a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice.
So how do you actually practice? The source lays out a really clear, simple method. First, write your decision down. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Second, speak it out loud, over and over until the sound of your own voice has real authority. Third, read it every morning and every night. And finally, just repeat, repeat, repeat. You are literally reprogramming your subconscious mind until it accepts this new decision as a law.
The whole process comes down to a simple mantra: starve the doubt, feed the decision. Every time you hesitate or second guess, you're feeding the doubt. Every time you take a small action in line with your goal, you're feeding the decision. And the source suggests that with about 90 days of real, focused discipline, you can fundamentally rewire your mind's default setting from anxiety to a state of calm, centered authority. And we're going to end on this thought right here, because it's a powerful one. So often, we tell ourselves that we're just waiting for the perfect time, waiting for a sign, for the right moment. This way of thinking flips that completely on its head. It says that the right moment isn't something you wait for. The right moment is waiting for you. It's waiting for you to finally, truly, and irrevocably decide.